We have in the house Cecilia Zalkind, who is President and CEO, Advocates for Children of New Jersey. Seal, great to have you back as always.
Thank you. Always nice to be here. Thank you.
You know, we're taping this at the end of March, and you just said, by the way, our Reimagine childcare website, you'll see it, check it out. You just said before we got on the air, it's a, quote, great year for children. We're talking about childcare, the importance of those years. Why is it a great year for childcare?
Well, I think it's a great year on two levels. One, what's happening in the state and this year's proposed state budget, which has some great advances for children, including childcare. And then what's happening through the American Rescue Plan, again, supporting many issues related to children, but a particular support for childcare, the biggest federal investment in childcare since the New Deal.
You just triggered something. You talked about the New Deal. By the way, check out the PBS documentary on Franklin Roosevelt, the New Deal, which has nothing to do with childcare. But that being said, how much do you believe, Seal, the focus on childcare, the importance of childcare, is a product of policymakers beginning to truly understand, acknowledge, and do something about the connection between COVID, childcare, and dare I say, people working in the economy?
Absolutely. I think there's no denying that childcare has certainly been elevated because of COVID, not only in terms of its importance for families, but also the importance for our state and our state's economy. I think that this is a great time to take advantage of not only the interests in childcare, the recognition of its importance, but some policies that we can use to create, rebuild, reimagine a new system of childcare.
By the way, we should make it clear that Reimagine Childcare is an ongoing series we've been involved in with Cecilia and folks at the Terrell Fund and others who care deeply about childcare. But do you actually believe, when we use the term reimagine childcare, that childcare will look significantly different in the next 3 to 5 years? And if so, what would that look like?
Well, I think it would look different in terms of the level of support and some of the policies that support accessibility to childcare. I think if you look at what New Jersey has done with the first round of federal money, the CARES Act fund, it has been instrumental in helping childcare survive during this incredibly challenging time, and also helping parents who suddenly are confronted with childcare needs because of school closures they haven't faced. If you look at the policies the state's implemented, actually, they really define what a high quality system would be: an accessible, a new, stronger system, greater support for childcare programs, new payment policies, and greater eligibility for parents to get tuition assistance.
Let's get a little more into the weeds here. The child care credit, okay, tied directly to the American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion COVID package put out by President Biden, now law. What are the changes specifically as it relates to the child tax credit? What is it and what are those changes?
Well, the child tax credit is a little different than the child care tax credit, both of which—
Explain the difference.
Well, the child care tax credit, and there's a federal tax credit and a New Jersey tax credit, which Governor Murphy just increased in this year's budget, that enables parents to file their child care expenses off their taxes. And this year in New Jersey, it's a refundable credit. So parents can get money back if they're for taxes because of their child care expenses. The child tax credit is something new and significant because it gives families assistance, gives them direct funding based on their income and the number of children in their family. The details of how this is going to work are still being developed by the IRS, but families up to a certain income level can receive up to $3,000 a year per child for children in their families. It has been described as the biggest impact on reducing child poverty than we've ever seen.
Reducing child poverty.
Yes.
To those who might say, well, that's a one-off, that's fine, but you're saying not immediate and long-term impact on child poverty? If so, make that case, Seal.
So it is, to your point, it is a one-year initiative under the American Rescue Plan. It starts immediately. There's no filing for it. It's based on a parent's tax filing. But, this is time for advocates to act and make sure that this becomes permanent. Our own Senator Booker has advocated for this for many years. I think we're going to see an immediate, significant impact on families. And when you think about families who are really devastated by COVID, families who've lost their jobs, have reduced employment, this is a lifesaver. And I think to all of us who advocate in this space, we need to make sure that this becomes permanent. It's a significant policy development.
So you understand this from a perspective that not many others would actually understand, and it's this. For actual childcare centers, for those actually hands-on, frontline childcare professionals, COVID has been incredibly devastating to them and their organizations, A. B, have we lost many of them for good?
Well, you're absolutely right. This has had a devastating impact on childcare, the pandemic has. And as we've heard from many of our childcare partners, this was a problem long before the pandemic. But what the pandemic highlighted is these programs exist on a shoestring. They don't have the reserves to support them when programs have to close, or as we see now, when the number of children they can serve are reduced by new COVID guidelines. So I think they have been struggling. But again, to the credit of our policymakers, we used the first round of federal funds, the CARES Act, very well. We supported childcare programs even while closed, based on who they had enrolled as of March 1st. Sounds like a small issue, but it was huge in helping childcare survive. There was assistance in accessing PPE gear, in helping programs with increased costs due to cleaning, with helping programs apply for the Payroll Protection Act loans, and then in supporting childcare with additional funding, recognizing the reduced class size because of COVID guidelines. We would not have a childcare system without those steps that New Jersey took.
Before I let you go, 30 seconds, Seal. The impact for children when they do have quality childcare as opposed to not having it on their lives.
I think that we've discussed childcare in the context of working parents. It's even more important as the early education opportunity for our youngest children. When they are thriving, when their brain development is accelerating, this is a time to have a high quality setting to help support that development.
Yeah. Folks, continue to follow our series, Reimagine Childcare, done in cooperation with Advocates for Children in New Jersey. Seal, thank you for being a wonderful partner and doing the work that you and your colleagues do every day. Thank you.
And thank you.
I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare. PNC, Grow Up Great. Delta Dental of New Jersey. Hackensack Meridian Health. MD Advantage Insurance Company. The New Jersey Education Association. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. NJM Insurance Group. And by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ.com. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.